Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel. Bryan Hayes, Leo Rautins, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, now up on TSN2, your home smart speaker, TSN Radio, the whole nine. You can find us everywhere, right? That's why we always say it. Radio, TV, podcast, web. At a big hour. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel. Later in the hour, Leo Rautins will join us. The Raptors were victorious in Chicago last night. Appears to be the Pascal and Scotty Barnes show. That's kind of what they're looking at here. Now that Van Vliet's out, you still have Anunoby. Trent has been relegated to the bench. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but this is the plan, right? Siakam and Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes has got to develop. We've seen it in every sport. You get a stud, young stud, you drop in the draft, you pick a guy, fork in the road, right? Like every sport has it. Every GM has it, man. That guy's got to develop because he can change everything. Your whole game plan can change if a guy develops into a superstar, as opposed to just a good player or very good player. Got to be a superstar.
Yeah. Do you think he is going to be one?
I think he's trending towards that. Yeah, I do. I do think that that's where it's going. I'd put money on that. I wouldn't put my house on it. I don't think anything's 100%.
Like, not good player, not like quality guy where if he got traded here, you'd be like, that guy's a superstar?
Yes. Like, I guess I would define superstar as a top 15 player in the league in his prime. I think that's happening. Like Victor Wembanyama, that's going to happen, right? If he's healthy, that seems like a lock. Connor Bedard seems like a lock. You're dealing with a layer a little bit lower than that in terms of certainty and in terms of raw talent and raw skill. But listen, he develops an outside shot. The ball's in his hand a lot more, and it feels like Darko Rajakovic has been brought in to change the attitude and I think change the flow and basically direct it through Siakam and Scotty Barnes.
I think Scotty Barnes, I don't know for certain because I'm not an NBA insider and I'm not down at Scotiabank Arena. I think before basketball, I think he probably has a little bit of work to do with his teammates. Mm-hmm. Just from kind of what you hear and some of the looks, and I don't know. I'm not sure everyone really 100% loved him last year, and he might need to straighten that out before anything else on the court.
That could be the case, and if it is, you listen, you're dealing with new players too this year, right? Like you've got a turnover. You got a new coaching staff. Van Vliet is out. You have some carryovers for sure, and Siakam and Anunoby, but this is also a sign of what happens with uber-talented young players. They get the benefit of the doubt. They get a couple of strikes. Like last year was not a good year for him, relatively speaking. It was a big step back. It was a big step back. Yeah. He's got to catapult back into trending towards face of a franchise type of player. And what comes with that is on the court, off the court, and it can be overwhelming. Like in Toronto, it's going to be all about Scotty, and other guys obviously take up a lot of the time. But we just saw Bedard come through here, and you can see it. It's already starting with even media in local markets getting a little bit pissed off that he's not made available, and he wasn't in Toronto. They didn't have a game day skate. I don't believe he was made available to the media after the game. Like that, that's surprising.
That is surprising. To be honest, they won. Everybody probably would have wanted to at least have a word with him. Mm-hmm. Like I'm surprised on that. I didn't know that, to be honest. That's new information for me. I get the morning skate that they didn't skate, all of that. But after the game, after a big win in Toronto, he's not available. That one
only time in town.
That's strange for me. Sorry.
This is where it's difficult for individual teams and the league, right? Like if you're the league, you can't dictate. You could strongly suggest, but you can't dictate how any individual team operates. Right. But you would think if you're the league, you understand how much is on Bedard's plate, but it's incredibly beneficial for the league for that to be there because that means people are excited. Like you need to
take away some
that.
Of the other nonsense, all the in-between periods. Give them after the game. That's when people want to hear the post game. The morning skate, stuff it on all of that, but get them after the game.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And again, we're biased in Toronto, but I think we all understand the magnitude of this market when it comes to the league, when it comes to storytelling, how many people live and work here that are not just Leaf beat reporters, but that want to tell the story of Connor Bedard, where there are certain markets that are different. Toronto's different. Montreal's different. I think Boston's different. When he goes to Western Canada, that's different. L.A., it's Hollywood, probably different. I could name 7 or 8. I won't, but I could name 7 or 8 where it's like, all right, take a pass there. Just go play and move on. But Toronto, that feels like a platform where the league would want Bedard to be front and center. But obviously Chicago's trying to push back on that. Here's our TSN hockey insider, Darren Dreger. How would you suggest the league and the team balance this Connor Bedard media exposure situation the rest of the way?
You're talking about Ottawa and Buffalo's taking a pass, right?
No, I would not do that.
That's what you're talking
I would
about.
not say that publicly. Never would I say that.
No. Well, look, I mean, the NHL wants its stars, whether it's, decorated guys like Sidney Crosby, or in this case, a star who's still making his way, very fresh, Connor Bedard, to be out front as often as they can. They appreciate that the Chicago Blackhawks are going to do whatever they can to manage this young man. And I think that they have for the most part. But I heard and I tend to agree, and you guys are probably in sync on this. I feel like Bedard, despite the fact he didn't get a point, which my understanding is that's what Blackhawks PR said. He didn't get a point in the game, so he doesn't have to speak to the media post-game. Well, I think Bedard would want to talk about what it was like to play against Austin Matthews or John Tavares or Marner, or go down the list. It doesn't really matter. It's all the stuff around the game or outside of the game that you need to manage. Maybe he doesn't need to do every in-game interview for the first 15 games of the regular season. I don't know how many he's done to date, but to not have him available post-game in Toronto, I think that's a miss, and I think the NHL would agree.
Yeah, it's the only time he's here. If it's a missed opportunity. I think it certainly is. But again, it's been a crazy start. It has been a crazy start.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh into Boston, Montreal, Toronto.
Sure.
He's the show. Taylor Hall. I wonder if it would have happened if Hall didn't say publicly what he said. That, Hall basically was like, it's too much.
Well, that's silliness if that's a response to Taylor Hall saying he's doing too much, Hazy.
I agree with you.
And maybe somebody pissed him off during the day. Maybe somebody chirped him. Maybe somebody – who knows what happens behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. It's just – I don't know who the PR guy in Chicago, for him to think that was a wise idea. Like I said, take away some of the other monkey business between periods in the morning. But after the game in Toronto, it's a miss, as Darren said. It's just silliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll catch them next year, right?
I know, but it's not like they got if they would have got blown out 8-1, I get it. Like I
agree.
They won, and I agree with Dregs. It's like, let's see his impressions of playing here. Like, you grew up watching Canadian markets. Like, I would hope that he's going to talk in Edmonton. I would hope that he's going to talk in Vancouver, the places that I guarantee you all eyes have been on for the last little while. I just, I agree. Like, there should have been some of the stuff you could have tapered back, but I just think that's a miss because it's not like Chicago lost. They won. They should have been
it's a layup.
Pretty proud of their night, right?
It seems like a layup for sure.
Yeah, and it's, look, not that Connor has shirked responsibility when it comes to dealing with media, because he hasn't, and he's been in the spotlight for a few years already, right? So the volume is more significant than anything he's ever had to deal with. But, repeating ourselves there, but just pick your spots, and I would do it even more carefully. Ferraro made an interesting point in our podcast when, they did the Pittsburgh game on ESPN, and I'm not going after the Penguins PR people. They're all good people. But there you see Connor Bedard in a hallway or in the middle of the dressing room, wherever he was, but he's standing on like a 6-inch riser, and there's 50 media people, right? And they're just like, I mean, if you're claustrophobic even a little bit, you've got a problem with that scrum. So why not put him on a podium? Make sure that Taylor Hall or an experienced player is up there with him. Make sure it doesn't go beyond 6-7 minutes in a pregame or a postgame, and then get on with it. But he shouldn't have talked twice a day, but because it's his first year and he is a spectacle, there's no doubt about that, I feel like there should be some form of obligation.
With Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider. So we were talking about that Winnipeg game last night, and I was commenting on the ticket sales and how many empty seats there were last night. And naturally, people watching us on TV in Winnipeg, listening online, They took offense to that. I understand. I'm just stating facts. I'm not saying that it's sold out in Buffalo or it's sold out here, or wherever else. Right. Fact is, like, the announced attendance was just over 11,000 last night. And I saw a number of media in the building and after the game say, man, I have not seen that since they came home. How concerning is this? How much of a story might this be as we move forward here, Dregs?
Yeah, it's a big story, and it's one that I have on my radar even for insider trading tomorrow night. I believe that the season seat holders have dropped to like 9,500 now, and they need a lot more than that to be viable. Keep in mind, and I know that fans are offended when we talk like this. That's fine. I lived in that market. I understand that market. I was in that market 30 years ago when it was sagging. And guess what happened? The team ended up in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I don't see the threat of that, but the NHL expenses for the Winnipeg Jets are no different than they are for any other team. So all of their costs are the same. So it comes down to season ticket sales and ticket sales in general. And if you're having trouble selling out a game like that, where Pierre-Luc Dubois comes back, the LA Kings are a hell of a hockey club. What's 15, 20 games into the season going to look like when you've got a team that, all right, maybe people aren't lining up to see. So if it's not a problem now, fellas, it's going to be a problem in the very near future for the Winnipeg Jets, because they're not a team that accepts losing money like Arizona, like go down the list. They're not. You've got Mark Chipman, you've got David Thompson, but these guys are businessmen. They cut a fine line. They're not in it to make money, but they can't lose millions of dollars in the process. And probably the only way that changes is twofold. Either the single-seat buyers come back as they were lined up when the Winnipeg Jets returned to Winnipeg, or corporate Canada gets involved and they start buying blocks of seats. But that's the only way, because if the rest of the season continues on like this, it's going to be a problem. And I think they went 10 full years of selling out the games in Winnipeg pre-COVID. COVID hit, and the fans haven't returned since. And you can absolutely draw a line to the Jets signing Connor Hellebuyck, extending Mark Scheifele, to prove to the fan base that they're still in the win-it-now mentality. Winnipeg cannot afford to go into a rebuild. They can't afford to do it, so it's up to the fans to step up to the plate.
Well, what if they did, Dregs? Does that mean, like, rebuild, it would be a real big mess, and then you're talking serious problems?
Well, I think so, I mean, look at a conventional rebuild. Is it fair to call? I think it's fair to call the Detroit Red Wings a conventional rebuild. What are they, in year 7?
Yeah.
No, but my question is, like, the Rangers send a note to their fans, we're rebuilding. They're like, okay. Montreal did it. They're like, okay. Like, it's going to happen sooner or later in Winnipeg. Why would it be, like, catastrophe? It's like, we're not coming back if there's a rebuild. That would be concerning in itself.
Well, it would be, but they're not coming now, and they've got a good hockey club.
Fair enough.
So if you don't extend Scheifele and Hellebuyck because you're embracing a rebuild, guess what happens? Josh Morrissey's knocking on your door. Kyle Connor's knocking on the door. And now you've got Cole Perfetti, with all due respect, and Dylan Sandberg as your season ticket draws, right? It gets problematic. I mean, it's problematic right now for the Winnipeg Jets. So I don't see how that team look, they wanted to keep Scheifele and Hellebuyck. As I look at the business model of how things are going on, I don't think they tried very hard to trade either guy in the offseason. That's not an indictment on management. I think that's a balance between knowing that you've got two good players you want to keep, but also understanding the ripple effect if you don't keep those two players and what it might do to your hockey club first and foremost, but then the business picture gets real bleak in a hurry.
With Darren Dreger at TSN Hockey Insider, as for on-the-ice stuff, we've referenced this Cale Makar record, I guess, that he established last night. He's hit 250 career points, doing so in 241 games. Insane. To put that into perspective, Bobby Orr did it in 247 games. So he beat Orr by 6 games, which is an astonishing statistic. And we do our top 50 every year. McDavid's unanimous. Cale Makar was in the top 5. He likely will be in the top 5 for quite some time. But we haven't seen a defenseman win the MVP, I don't think, since Chris Pronger did it back in the 90s. What kind of season do you think we need to see? Because Carlson had 100 points, and he was not nominated for the Hart. What kind of numbers does Makar have to put up to start talking Hart as opposed to just a Norris?
Well, and that would be the measuring stick, right, is what Erik Karlsson did last year. So was Cale Makar capable of? We don't know. It's impossible to put a ceiling on what he's capable of, but it does feel like it might have to be beyond that. But I think he's capable of going above 100 points. On a team like Colorado Avalanche, the way that they're playing right out of the gate, it's believable. I mean, obviously, you say this about every other player, and that's good help. If he can stay healthy, then there's no reason to believe that he can't. I don't know. Brian, it's a good question. I don't know that the voting group has the stomach to do it unless it's an insane season, beyond belief, well north of 100 points, whatever that is. I just don't know that we go into that territory because, what's Connor McDavid going to put up? Don't know. I mean, bit of a sluggish start for Edmonton aside from last night. What's Austin Matthews going to put up? So, you always have those comparisons to take hold of.
Well, and that's likely going to continue. I mean, we all know McDavid's going to end up with 130, 140 points or whatever, if not more.
170.
170, according to many, including someone on this panel. And, maybe Matthews scores 60 again or whatever. But I guess, for me, it feels like it's more of, the Hart is just a forwards award. Where they have the Norris, they have the Vezina, so that's for those particular positions.
I'm with you.
And yet, let's say Colorado wins their division running away. Let's say they win the President's Trophy, they're the best team in the league, and Cale Makar is the clear-cut leader with 100 points. I don't know.
That's heartworthy. That's heartworthy.
You would think, if let's say Edmonton finishes third in their division, McDavid has 128 points. How is I don't know. It seems like Makar should probably be in a position to do that, and he very well could. There's still a lot of games left to be played, clearly, but.
Let's say this. Let's just, as we get closer to the closing of the regular season, let's remember October 18th and Bryan Hayes calling it.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate
I will give you open credit, and I will acknowledge my vote. I will 100% acknowledge if that's the direction I'm going, with full credit to you for calling it.
All right. I'm calling it. I'm calling it right now. Put it on the board. And they're off to a great start. Vegas off to a great start. They've won
Vegas wins every night 4-1. It's just
isn't it fitting that there's no hangover in Vegas? There's no cup hangover. You got to fight through a hangover in Vegas.
But it's just 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. Thank you very much.
Routine, spread it out.
That is a nice recipe.
Yeah, they got a good thing cooking down there, man. They really do.
They do.
All right, Dregs. Well, we'll see where this goes. It's only October 18th, as you pointed out. There's a lot of change possibly in front of us, and maybe I'll change my mind. But as of now, I got Cale Makar winning the Hart. Put it on the board.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good for you. I like it. That's bold. What about one of the Vegas guys, the goaltenders winning the Vezina? Any shot?
Listen, at this point, they've given up 5 goals in 4 games.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Kind of got an Allmark vibe to it, doesn't it? Best team, defensively sound.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. Sure.
You know what's going to happen as soon as we end this segment? Kelly McCrimmon is calling me and say, "Would you shut up? It's October."
Right, exactly. Just let us fly under the radar down here.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Dregs. Thank you.
Have a great night, guys.
Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider. A lot of hockey still left to be played. Long season.
There's some great storylines in the first, we'll call it, week of the season. But now, you're going to see some settling. You're going to see some guys wake up, some other teams cool off. By all accounts, I think Josh Norris might play tonight. I don't know if
he's
you guys
in the
saw
lineup,
that.
I believe.
Man, was there Josh Norris tweets today. There's
big,
line rushes, and Josh Norris is in them.
That is a significant move, though, man. That who hates that is Shane Pinto, right? Pinto's like, can you just maybe stay out of the lineup a little
Well, he's
longer?
thinking to himself, if he comes back and they rip off 5 wins in a row, they could care less if I come back or not.
All right.
But, dude, I'm telling you, they got to get that kid in the lineup. Like, they want to build for something this year, and he's a big part. I don't know if anybody loves that kid as a player more than I do. I'm a massive believer in his ability.
You've been talking about him for a year now. I remember you texting me, like, one of the first games. You're like, that guy's a player.
Is he from Kansas City? Like, where's he from?
I don't even know the kid. I've never talked to him. I just have a big-time belief in his game and what he brings to the table. And they got to get him on the ice playing. I'm telling you, he's going to be a big part of it.
All right. From Franklin Square, New York.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Trains on the island. Long Island.
Long Island, okay.
Yeah, that's where he's training right now. I don't know where Franklin Square is, but he's training there in Long Island. So he's a good kid, and he's a hell of a player. And you're right, Ottawa's got to get him up and running. So hopefully that happens sooner than later.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You get him back. You put Stützle into Norris, into Pinto. Pretty good setup at that point.
Yeah, looks all right.
Yeah, pretty good setup. Yep, for sure. Ottawa in action tonight. All right, our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Still to come a little bit later in the afternoon. And, of course, we got our buddy Leo Rautins coming up. And there's a lot still to get into today, including teeing up Game 3 of the ALCS. Max Scherzer on the mound. He may or may not, I can't not confirm or deny, come up in our best bets brought to you by FanDuel.
I can either confirm or deny that.
Yes, little tease for the future.
Dude, how's that guy going to pitch? Isn't his arm going to fall off?
I don't know. He's not a young guy. He hasn't pitched in a month.
No.
Yeah, but if he's at 100%, he could rack up 10 Ks tonight.
You remember when he got injured, he was in Toronto right after, or it might have been in Toronto.
It was.
He was in Toronto right after. And then he's like, he was running the next day, and he's like, you never know. Like, we might go on a bit of a run. And I was like, dude, you can go home now because you're done.
They were
so
toast.
were the Rangers.
Yeah, he went down. I want to say that was Game 2 of the 4-game series. He pitched. He left the game. The Rangers won. We know what happened the rest of that series.
The next day, he was running out in the field, and he's like, I got to stay in shape. You never know. I'm like,
never
dude,
know.
Go home, old man. Go home.
Well, he's home, and he's pitching tonight. TSN 1050's Leaf lineup is your chance to win Leaf tickets every week all season long. Every weekday, we will announce a current or former Maple Leaf player, and on Fridays, you'll have a chance to call in and name that Leaf. Name all the players in the lineup. You'll score a pair of tickets to an upcoming game. Today's player, Bill Derlago. Derlago. My bad.
Yeah,
I'm reading that phonetically. Billy Derlago. Bill Derlago is your Maple Leaf player of the day.
He had a mustache.
Of course he did. His
One
name's
of the
Bill.
greatest guys and the greatest Leafs of all time. Billy D.
Billy D. There you go. This week we're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Kings on October 31st, Halloween night. There you go. All right. Leo coming up. His take on, the first couple of weeks of camp. What he thinks maybe this new coaching staff is going to apply to the Raptors as we get closer to opening night. And what's up with James Harden? I don't know if Leo's James Harden's biggest fan. I don't think. I know he's not Joel Embiid's biggest fan. So we'll catch up with Leo. We'll get into a number of things with him. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Game 3 of the ALCS. Little same-game parlay. Texas-Houston. Leo Rautins will join us here in a few moments. Get Leo's take on the Raptors camp so far. James Harden, I guess it's just decided he's had enough. He's left Philly. He's down in Houston. He made the call. Like, that's what reports are indicating. It's not like, Philly asked him to leave.
What's the fines or whatever per day he misses?
I have not seen anything definitive, but
he doesn't care.
As we established earlier, he doesn't. He wouldn't do this if he cared about dollars and cents.
No, I told you earlier, Kendrick Perkins. Yeah. He don't care.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care, and he's getting wherever he goes next. He'll sign there likely, and it'll be a monster contract. Like,
but
he's
why
still
did
going to
he even bother showing up to Philly?
That's what I can't figure out.
It's just like, why go there and be like, hey, this guy backstabbed me, and then leave? Like, just don't show up.
Right. He was not there day one. Then he showed up, I think, day 2, and was there for a few days when they were in Colorado, and then now he's gone, and he's been gone since Sunday. This is his plan. It's sabotage. It's do as much damage as possible to the point where they say, screw it, just get rid of this guy. And that's what happens. Eventually, the owner will call up and say, just get rid of him. I don't even want to see him anymore. And he'll get his way.
I'm telling you,
that's what's going to happen.
He'll be sitting looking at the ocean or wherever the hell he retires, and he'll regret his actions due to his legacy because they'll just not talk about his awesome handles or the way he could shoot the 3-ball. Everyone's going to just remember him as a distraction and a pain in the ass and wanting out.
Yeah.
He'll
agree.
think about it one day and regret it.
He will, because he's also never won anything.
Exactly.
Right? Like, if he had done all this and always went to a championship team and won his championships, like, I'll bet you Kevin Durant
is probably a pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass, and I'll bet you there's a part of Durant that every once in a while pops into his mind. He's like, I wish I didn't go to Golden State. But then he looks at his rings and he goes, I got 2 rings, 2 finals MVPs. I went there for a reason. I accomplished the reason I went, and then I left.
Yes.
But Harden has jumped around and never won anything. And so it's like, what did you accomplish other than changing your reputation as being just a pain in the ass?
Well, he had a couple
tiresome.
chances. I think Houston was up on G State 3-1 or 3-2.
Going home.
And him and whoever else on that, Chris Paul, were garbage, and they choked it away.
That's right. They were, I want to say they were up 3-2 going back to Houston for Game 6.
Yeah, and they choked it away. They were turning it over and making just dumbass plays, and they choked it away.
They did.
Thing is he doesn't care. He's made a boatload of money. He enjoys his life, and it just seems like, Harden and Kyrie are the most difficult athletes you've ever come across. Like, I don't know
Kyrie,
why.
I can't even take him seriously.
Isn't that painful?
He came out today and he said, for me, it's all about leadership, and I'm going to lead like this team has never seen someone lead. That's his quote.
I know.
I'm going to show these guys some leadership that they've never seen before. And I'm like, you are so full of it, dude. You are so full of it.
Isn't that terrifying if you're Mark Cuban? Like, no, we'll just pay you not. Like, just play, Kyrie,
Just
and then
play.
you can leave.
And if I'm Luka reading that, I'm like, what is this guy talking about? This is my team. Don't make it your team, because it's not.
Well, if I'm Luka, I'm kind of taking that personally, because he needs to mature. I think that is something that is hung around.
Don't disagree.
Him, like, Luka's got to mature. Luka's got to take on more of a leadership role. And the fact that Kyrie feels like he can do that says something about where Luka's at.
I'll tell you one thing, Hazy. I'm a little bit surprised at, after the bubble, I thought Luka was going to be like championship type stuff, like no one's stopping him and he's going to like take off. He's still been unbelievable, but it's not what I thought. I thought that was going to go bonkers out of the bubble.
I agree. They missed the playoffs last year. Like, remember, they tanked at the end of it to miss, and like that's going the opposite way. Like, he's still a magician on the court. He is one of the most entertaining players in the game. So is Kyrie when he's playing. When Kyrie's playing, he is a blast to watch play. He's a brilliant player. But that's got to be terrifying. Yeah, Kyrie, his only initiative this year is to really take some young guys under his belt. No, you don't need to do that. We'd prefer if you just showed up and played and left. Thank you. Exactly. Here's our TSN NBA Raptors analyst, Leo Rautins. How you doing, Leo? Okay. Got Leo? Maybe Leo's a big supporter of Kyrie. Maybe we just disappoint.
He's had enough.
He's not going to accept the slander that we are supplying here, directed towards Kyrie Irving.
What are you guys laughing at?
Did you see that picture I sent you guys?
It's the bald O-Dog. It's just...
Somebody sent it to...
Oh, my God. Why do you have a goatee in that picture?
I don't know. Like, where did someone superimpose the goatee? That's what actually rattled my cage, because I'm like, I haven't had a goatee since I played hockey.
Can I retweet this?
Yes. Like, I don't know.
I'm retweeting this.
Send it to Doogie and Joe from the bridge,
Doogie.
and we put it up, because I don't know where that came from, but I've been trying to hold it together.
At Hayes TSN on Twitter. We'll post it on TSN too. This is why you got to PVR the show or follow us on social. Get this, rip it up, throw it up on our Instagram account, the whole 9, Doogie. With a bald head and a goatee. It actually looks kind of fitting. I mean, it's
like, where did that come from? How is that even superimposed?
I don't know, but it's brilliant art. This is modern art.
Look at that guy. That guy drinks 9 tall boys after work.
Yes. He's a 24 handicap. He wears jeans on the course.
Has an ashtray inside
his truck.
In the living room, I meant.
On the coffee table.
Has a record that can probably be found online. Look at that cat.
That guy wears white, giant Under Armour flip-flops and just blows darts all day.
Here's Leo Rautins. Do we have you this time, Leo?
Oh, I'm in, yes.
Okay, yes. Good to have you, buddy. We appreciate it. I don't know why you walked into this absolute circus, but you did walk into this circus. It's great to have you. And obviously, now that we got you back in the fold, that means the NBA season right around the corner. And I was watching that Raptor game in Chicago last night. It's a preseason game, but like it appears to me it's like, and I think it was going in this direction anyway, but I'm curious your take on this, that with Fred leaving, like this is the Siakam and Scotty show. Is that your read on the situation, that Darko's going to be running plays through those two guys in particular?
You're not wrong in saying that, but I think Darko's impact on his team has been pretty sizable. The way they're playing, the way the ball's popping, the style of game is very different. And I think Dennis Schroeder, hey, we all love Fred, and Fred did a lot of good things for the Toronto Raptors, but for the money, you are not going to get a lot of drop-off between Fred and Dennis. And sometimes style can impact the team dramatically different. And his impact style-wise is going to help this team in a lot of ways more based on who the personnel is this year. So you're not wrong in Pascal and Scotty taking a large role, but I think the way they're going to be scoring is going to be easier for them. By the nature of how they're playing the game.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Darko's been clear on that really since the day he was hired. And, I've seen some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and how he's really trying to get that message across and, moving the ball and, getting away from selfish play. And that's really coming from the man at the top, isn't it, Leo? We haven't had you on since that opening day presser, but like Masai's message, I have an appreciation for it. The more and more I look back on it, like in today's modern sports world, for Masai to be that clear cut, like basically if you don't play the way I want you to play, you just won't be here. You don't hear that a lot from modern executives.
No, you don't. And, last season he said it, and, I was watching and I'm going, I'm thinking this, right? And I said it on TV, guys are not playing the right way. Mm-hmm. And then Masai said it, and it's just verification because you're seeing it yourself. And then even this season, a lot of people gave him some backlash saying, okay, well, this is a negative start to the year, reiterating that. But he's making the point that we're not playing that way anymore. And I respect that. And I think the moves that he's made with the coaching staff making, wholesale changes, dramatic, a lot of changes, and bringing somebody like Darko in that has incorporated a lot of different things into his coaching style over years of, obviously the European, the NBA, the G League. He's got a tremendous background. And, my son actually played for Darko in Tulsa in the G League. And he said that Darko's, one, his knowledge of the game was impeccable. But two, he said his ability to communicate with players, not only on a professional level of talking about what you're doing on the court, but on a personal level. And, we've already heard that from, I think Gary Trent made a comment that he's talked more to Darko than he has all the coaches combined, and he's been in the NBA for all his years. So I think all those things are really important and lead to unselfish play. Because guys are going to be feeling better and understanding more, and I think when players, when you believe in the players, I think they respond in a whole different way.
Leo, just an observation watching from afar last year, it just seemed like Scotty Barnes might have rubbed some of the players, maybe some of the veteran guys the wrong way a little bit. Do you think that he needs to make good with that before he gets the basketball, or will just good play kind of take all that stuff from last year go away?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything personal. I think that when you look back, he was a second-year player. You have every guy has got to go through growth, right? And there's immaturity that's obviously going to be there because he's a young guy, and I think you put all that on the table, and it's not that the veterans were okay. Masai was talking about not playing selfishly. Well, was that about the young guys or was that about the veterans more? So maybe Scotty didn't like what he was playing with, right? So maybe he was in the right and some of the things that he was feeling and maybe saying internally, and guys didn't like it. So I would respect that if he did, because that's saying that he's more about winning than worrying about hurting anybody's feelings. So there's a lot of ways you could potentially digest this or break it down, but I'm not worried about it. I think, I think he's the guy that knows what's on the line. A lot of people have a lot of expectations for him. The team's definitely committed to him. They could have made big trades, and they haven't regarding him. I think he's put in the work. I think he's put in the time. He looks really good right now. His body looks strong. His conditioning looks really good. I love the way he gets the ball up the glass and just pushes it up the floor, and he's making good decisions. And he's also knocking down the open jumper because, that was the Achilles heel, right? People will give you that jumper, and if you don't knock it down, that eliminates a lot of your passing lanes and ability to drive. So I like what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, same. I mean, he looks very aggressive. It's preseason, but you mentioned those trades that have been well reported on. And a lot of, significant insiders in the NBA saying that he just was not on the table, whether it was, for KD a year ago, whether it was for Dame this year. It's pretty clear cut. Like it's got to be Scotty, right, Leo? Like it was a down year for him. It was he was representative of the whole team. They did not have the season they wanted to. But this plan that Masai is cooking up here, that not a lot of people are privy to publicly, like not a lot of people know, myself included, like where is Masai taking this? But I think where you can start is Scotty Barnes has got to blossom into that superstar they believe he's trending towards.
Yeah, I mean, but think about the perspective from if you're Scotty Barnes, all right, KD's on the table, and they say no to KD. Now, that's going to affect you in a lot of different ways. One, there's going to be pressure. All right? There's going to be pressure that you're going to be feeling because no to KD. There's also ego. Hey, I'm the guy. I'm the guy now, right? So you're talking about a second-year player that's got to deal with all that. And I'm not really looking. Yeah, I think you're right in saying it was a down year in general. But I wasn't down on Scotty. Like the expectations I had, I think, were realistic in terms of a second-year guy. You go through the history of the league, there's a lot of guys in their second year, it's a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. And he still did a lot of really good things. And so, I think that, that pressure now is absorbed. He understands, what he's got to do. It looks like he's put in the work. And that's the key, right? If you're willing to put in the work and do the little things, to shore up your weaknesses, to make the open shots, whatever it may be, then you're in the right mind frame to handle this. So, like I said, I'm excited to see what not only what Scotty's going to bring, but honestly, there's a freshness about what's going on, and I'm kind of excited to see what this group's going to do.
Leo, where are you at with the James Harden situation?
Same place I've always been. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I've always respected Harden's talent. I mean, he's an elite talent, but I wouldn't want him on my team for anything. I wouldn't want him affecting young guys. I wouldn't want him disrupting my. Hey, he's proven it. You bring him in, he's going to check out at some point in time, and he played a dangerous game with his body. Remember in Houston, he just got overweight, played himself out kind of thing. And when you get older, your body has to be priority number one. And when you start playing games with your body does not respond well, and it creates problems later on. And he's been enduring some of these problems since then. And it causes you to lose a step, lose a little bit here and there. So no, I'm not buying. So I think, and I think that's why it's hard to move them, right? A lot of people have seen it, and despite the fact that you can sell anything to anybody in the NBA, a lot of people are still hesitating.
Yeah, and now he's no longer even in Philly. And, I don't know how Nick Nurse is going to handle this moving forward. Like, you got Embiid, who may not be happy.
Yeah, but Embiid made a point, we know what it is.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody knows what the Harden deal is. So, and players aren't going to talk trash publicly about other guys, but they know that he's just, he doesn't want to be there. And if he plays, he's going to play himself out and be disruptive. So, I think everybody understands. I don't think the players are going to view it as a distraction. It's more for ownership, and it would be for Nick Nurse if he was around. He had to find ways to put him on the floor just to show people he can play still.
Right. Yeah, well, we're getting close to tip-off, the real deal, Holyfield. It's going to be a great season, a fun season, like you said, kind of a new vibe here in Toronto, certainly. Always great catching up with you, Leo. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds great, guys. Have a great one.
There's Leo Rautins, our TSN Raptors and NBA analyst. Not the biggest fan of James Harden.
No, but he's right.
His talent. Yeah, it's a circus, man.
The guy's disruptive. That's what he is. You don't want that in your organization, especially around young guys and seeing how they're feeling.
Yeah, and he just got an appetite early in his career, or whenever he got the appetite that I'm going to behave like this, and he kind of got his way, and then you get your way again, so you're just like, I'm going to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. It's not like anybody in his life could step in and say, why don't you just shut up and play and make all that money and be quiet and be a great player?
Yeah.
Because you give them an appetite. Any athlete, any story, any league, they're going to keep doing it, and he's going to keep doing it. He'll go to L.A. and be pissed off there by January.
Well, that's what doesn't make sense to me is, you're so captivated by his talent and his scoring ability, and he's still a great player. And I'm sure in L.A. they're thinking, well, you got Paul George here, you got Kawhi here, you got Russ here. Like, okay, we're just going to put this like 4-man team together, basically, that's going to try to drag us somewhere. But I just feel like he'll get there and he'll be pissed off. Like Kawhi will come back off an injury and get play a bunch of minutes and get plays called for him, and he won't be happy about it. Or he'll be relegated to a position that he doesn't want to be in, and he'll just say, screw it, I want out of here. Now I want to go to the Lakers. I don't see it ending. I don't see him finding one spot, and it's like that's where he's going to be. Mm-hmm. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come. Only a couple of games in the NHL tonight. One game in the baseball playoffs, the ALCS returning to the limelight in Texas tonight, Game 3, Rangers, Astros. So we'll tee that up, get to our best bets. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We hit a winner last night. We're red hot. Seeing the board. Looking at Game 3 of the ALCS tonight. Garcia to record 1+ hit tonight. Max Scherzer to record 5+ strikeouts. That's asking a lot. But Scherzer, I feel like, he's got that legendary status to him. It's at home, Texas. This guy was celebrating and partying throughout the wild card, throughout the divisional series. He got traded there before the deadline and didn't pitch throughout those playoff runs, and now he's finally back. So it's like he's been riding shotgun, celebrating. Now I feel like he makes an impact tonight.
He could go legend.
He can go legend.
Could, yeah.
He absolutely could. Under the number tonight, 9 total runs, too. I think this is a methodical, lower-scoring game. See a 3-2 game, 4-2, maybe 5-3 game tonight. That's our SGP for Game 3 tonight. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18+, physically located in Ontario. So, we got Game 3 tonight. Only a couple of NHL games tonight. Some people are sending in some wild pictures of us, because someone sent in that picture of, looking kind of like David Wells at the end of his career. Stone Cold a little bit. Not as menacing as Stone Cold, but there was a Stone Cold vibe.
But the goatee bothers me. It's like, why did you add in the goatee?
Yeah, the goatee really is fitting. I think it's an accent, right? Because if you got the bald head, you need the little goatee.
This guy here is
just a little goatee.
That guy means business.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people sending in different. Actually, some people saying you look like Larry Walker there. Larry Walker,
Dude, I'll
15 years after his career.
Look like. I'll tell you who that pick is. That's Brendan DeYoung, who just started as a Golf Channel analyst. And he was a big dude, and he was bald, and he had a goatee.
Yeah.
That is Brendan DeYoung, the golfer.
Sure.
That's who that is.
There you go.
Yeah. Brian Dable.
Brian Dable. It is a Dable vibe. Look at that face. That's Tyrod Taylor calling an audible and running the ball with no timeouts on the 1-yard line. Tell me that's not Dable. You put a headset on Dable, which he hates. He hates the headset. There is a Dable vibe there. Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's have our fun with that little pick today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, that thing's gone.
Thing disappears? Okay. All right, that's fine.
Love
All
it.
right, thanks to everyone behind the scenes today for helping out. We appreciate it. Doogie's doing work, man. Doogie Hauser's making things happen. There's a lot of moving and a lot of shaking here. JP making things happen as well. And everyone on the TV side, we appreciate that. We appreciate everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. Always appreciate the support. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Doogie, day 3 was your best. Keep it going. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.